Hello, and thanks for joining us on NTA Makudi. Welcome to this special edition of Issues in the News. I am Moses Ajao Udi. Cybercrime is fast becoming a norm, and the social media is awash with the news of this social menace. Worrisome is the involvement of youth who are deviating from pursuing their dreams to engage in cybercrime. Recently, a teenager of about 17 years was arrested by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, for defrauding its victims of over 220 million naira. Every day in the news, it is one report of cybercrime or the other. Tonight, we shall be discussing the negative effects of cybercrime on youth and the need for them to desist from engaging in this criminal act. To do justice to this topic is a pastor and a motivational speaker who is interested in youth development, Reverend Amonye Simon Moses. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for having me.
We'll begin with what this term, cybercrime, what is it really about?
The term cybercrime connotes with what we already know, and it's called cyberspace. Criminal activities that are carried out within that space can now be tagged as cybercrime. The internet is something that we humans have created. It's a space we have made for ourselves. And just like any other space, it can be used for both positive and for negative endeavors. And those that go on this space and carry out and perpetrate acts that are having repercussions upon us as a people group, these are cyber criminals, if you want to use that, you want to go further with that expression. But for us here, any criminal activity that is carried out within the cyberspace, which is accessed by your phone, or anything that have access to the internet, have access to the cyberspace, all those that go in there to commit crimes, whatsoever form of crimes, those are the things we refer to as cybercrime, crimes that are carried out in the cyberspace. And remember that one of the very first acts of cybercrime or cyber murder that was recorded was somebody that hacked a hospital record a long time ago and used that to change the prescription for a patient, and the patient died. And even murders can be committed through cyberspace.
Yeah, we've heard tales of issues related to cyber crimes, from the Western world, and but in Nigeria, while growing up, we never had or experienced issues like that. How did we get here?
First, for everything that has a good side, there's also the negative side to it. So there's two sides to a coin. When we got our internet penetration, especially today that the broadband internet is increasing in Nigeria, especially in the urban and suburban areas, more internet penetration is coming in. This is where the access to this platform is made available. You have the various network carriers. Today we used to have, I think there was the Edge, you have the 2G, the 4G, and 4G, now it's going to 5G. So as this penetration continues, then there's the access to the cyberspace becomes more available to a lot of persons. And again, with the reduced cost or the otherwise of internet access, you could buy some serious internet time with not too much of amount. So as that happens, those are factors. But then you now have to also relate that to the fact that a lot of our youths are very, very smart. They have their heads rightly screwed upon their necks. They know exactly what they're doing. So if we don't engage them to do positive stuff, then of course they're going to find a way out. And cyber crime, with the ambiguity it creates, the animosity that it has, it makes it very alluring to a young man or woman to want to take advantage.
So are we saying the availability of the internet space is really the factor that...
It's a contributing factor.
Okay.
But then when like what I'm trying to say in essence is when the youths are not engaged in such a way that is productive, then the negative part, which is the destructive part, becomes available to them.
In all of this, we see a very crucial aspects of the role of the parents,
Very much.
So what do you think the role of the parents should be in molding this youth to become, productive? and not engaging in
and
cybercrime.
Very, very key and very, very important in the sense that parents are like the first compass that our conscience ever has. Before you talk about the Holy Spirit or you talk about any kind of thing, parents are the first voices in our heads that tells us this is right, this is wrong, we should do this and we shouldn't do that. So if from a very early stage the parents are able to imbibe the idea of this is right, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do, whether there is money in it or not, and all of that. So long as the parents are unable to do this, it's going to continue to allow our young men to come to a point where we're making a choice. The decision does not have a moral right or wrong anymore. The morality becomes very small. So parents must be able to, from a very tender age, teach the children morals and say, no, something is right because it's right and something is wrong because it's wrong. Until we get to that point, then the youth will come up not really having this strong moral compass, and thereby that crime does not seem as something bad.
Okay, in Nigeria, Nigeria is regarded as a religious country.
Very.
Both the Christian and the Muslim faith.
And also African traditional.
Yes, highly rich in the African culture and traditional values.
Yeah.
But in all of this, we see youths, moving away from what they are taught in their churches and mosques, as well as the traditional cycle to something alien. What do you think is the role of the church, the mosque, and the traditional homes in, curbing this menace?
Now, the church and every other well-meaning, non-governmental, governmental organization and everybody have a huge role to play. And it's not a role we can shift. It's not something that we can move to the next available person and say, please help us take care of this. It's something that we have to do for ourselves. Our role, number one, is to continue to talk about this. Is to continue to say this is wrong, this should not be encouraged, it should not continue. That young men and women should be discouraged from engaging in these negative activities. But again, is to also promote those that are doing what is right.
Yeah.
To ensure that we are able to raise men and women that have done with true integrity, hard work, creativity, have been able to put their name, not just on the very high pedestal, maybe on the platinum step, but even at the bronze, to raise them up and say, these guys have done well for themselves. The fact is, cybercrime, we cannot divorce it from the fact that a lot of young people see it as a way out because the other alternatives are limited. We must open up that space to let young people know that there are positive alternatives, there are clean alternatives that you could actually go into and you could make it in life and you sustain yourself and all of those. So until the church and the mosques and other African traditional worshippers must promote the good part. Those that have done well should promote them, and those that have done bad, if possible, should call them out. I still remember in the days I was growing up within the church I grew, if a young man steals, he's placed on church discipline, and it's done in a public way in order to, if you want to call that, you could say public shaming. But whatsoever strategies we can engage in, we have to engage those strategies in order to discourage young men and women from the pulpit and also from the altars to let them know that cybercrime is not the way to go.
We have also seen that because these youth are engaged in, this crime, somehow they find a way of also getting back to their parents, maybe by way of support. And to a great extent, that gives, a kind of a boost to whatever act they engage in. But the other way around, how can we, talk them out of this, and make them focus on more productive and legitimate internet-related business? Because it has two sides, both the positive and the negative sides of it. So how can we achieve the positive sides, allow them to use the internet, but in a more positive light?
This is not too difficult to do. I think the challenge we have had as a people over time is the fact that we have not built up this internet space to be a legitimate area that people can do business. The phobia is still there, and especially one of the negative feedbacks for cybercrime is the fact that people are afraid to do legitimate business on cyberspace. So we've got to invest more in our cyber security. within our own space. We've got to ensure that those doing legitimate businesses on the cyberspace are able to carry out their activities unhinged. And then number two, we have to create an avenue whereby people that have these creative skills, there's a lot of things that goes into what we call cybercrime. We just use a blanketing word here. A lot of things that goes into them, and some of them have what they call both the white and also the dark and all of those. So we could actually promote those that are involved in legitimate businesses that are internet related by ensuring that we're able to create those things on the ground that makes those businesses to work. If those things are available, then I'm very sure that in no distant time, we'll be able to divorce a lot of our young people from engaging in the negative aspect and then imbibing the positive. I know a lot of young people within Nigeria, within Benue, that are within Makurdi even, that are doing good businesses on the internet, and they are making quite a living for themselves. Maybe not as much as others, but they are making a living for themselves. And I think we could always ensure that we promote such people. Invite them to platforms, let them talk about their experiences, and remembering and then reminding our young men out there that Rome was not built in a day. They must be willing to take out time to do the hard work and allow their businesses to grow rather than trying to do a quick hit and run kind of strategy that cybercrime seems to provide for them.
Yes, like we earlier discussed, the cybercrime emanated or was brought in from the Western world.
Yeah.
But what we have, or what we're experiencing here, seems to be a little different from it. We hear of Yahoo, and the Yahoo Plus, and
Yahoo.
What are really the differences?
I won't go into any details because we don't want to encourage any young persons to try this out, but I have interacted with quite a few young persons, either who are directly involved, repentant now, or those that are presently still active within that space. And there are quite a few things. Some is the IG, that's a Instagram kind of impersonation. That's just a simple word for it. They impersonate somebody, and then get somebody, a victim to send them funds here, and then try to clear that through their own means of doing so. You have hacking, which manipulate people's data, information, identity theft, and all of that. You have wire crime. You have all kinds of things that go into all of these that are blanketed under cybercrime. You have some of these may not just be cybercrime, but are cyber aided, where you have people channeling assets that should be yours and then channeling to where they want it to go, and all of that, and then taking advantage of elderly people, and trying to dupe them out of their funds or try to part them with their hard-earned resources and things like that. So there are all of those things put together that is called cybercrime. Anything you do in order to use the internet or to use the cyberspace to your advantage and to somebody else's disadvantage in a manner that is not legal, that is cybercrime. So all of those are things we cover. Now you talked about Yahoo Plus. So Yahoo is a simple one.
Explain.
Try to explain. The Yahoo Plus will be when somebody go a little bit extra, to get their ends meet. This will have to do with stuff like rituals. This will have to do with, getting to, the kind of people I'm talking about, who are also another level of the whole deception thing, trying to tell somebody, okay, if, come to me, I have a thing I'll do. Anybody you talk to on phone is going to just, accept your proposal. Yeah. But you have to maybe do some sacrifices, pay some money. So those are the Yahoo Plus and any other one you want to add to them going forward.
Okay. There have been calls from, well-spirited individuals and, concerned members of the public for restriction on the use of the internet. Of course, a lot of persons have also come up to defend that. Why should you restrict it? But with what we have now, do you think restricting the internet for these young lads is the most appropriate way to go? And what age limit do you think is necessary for allowing the young people use the internet?
That question again is very hard to bite. If you allow me, I'll tell you that from the moment a child is born, he should have access to the internet, and until the moment they die, that access should not be restricted. However, just like we have cars on our roads, you've got to be at a particular age to be able to drive. You've got to be a particular mindset to be able to use it. However, the internet is not like our roads. The internet is a little bit more spread than that. So maybe what we should concentrate on should not be the age. I believe that from the ages of 14, a young man should be able to take responsibility for themselves. But remember that whenever you use it, especially the platform you are using for this program today, it's also the internet enabled.
Yes.
The satellite television is internet enabled. So whatsoever of those facilities you use, that person is still using the internet. But I believe somewhere around 14, a young man should be fully able to use the internet. But again, they would have used it over their lives, until that point. They should be able to use that. You have drunk drivers on the road. You don't close down the road and say nobody should drive and all of that. But you just try as hard as possible to make sure that you got drivers in their right minds on the road. So I think that's the same thing with the internet. We can only going forward, try that hard. But again, it's not something that will go away tomorrow.
Oh, that is really a very wonderful time talking with you and also deliberating on this very crucial issue that has to do with you and me and the society at large. We've been talking with Pastor Amonya Simon Moses. He has done serious justice to this very crucial topic, the cyberspace and its effect. You are most welcome to NTA Makurdi.
Thank you.
And thanks for staying with us.
Thank you for your time.
That's the much we can take on issues in the news this weekend. And when we come back again in our next episode, we'll be bringing you more interesting topics and guests. Thanks for watching.